Hello and welcome to Conversations in Close Protection with your hosts Chuck Randall and Chris Story. Our goal is to engage the greater protection community, inspire innovative thought, and as always, continue the conversation around all things close protection.
Ho, 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 and happy holidays. Welcome to Conversations in Close Protection. My name is Santa Chuck, and of course, across the digital divide, the vagabonds of the vernacular, Mr. Chris Story, and making his annual return, the amazing Double A Ron Peck. Gentlemen, welcome.
Happy to be here.
Aren't you the vagabond of the vernacular? Isn't that you?
Look at me. I am the Santa Claus, Santa Chuck, baby.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris, I see that per the usual holiday episode, you have brought the sizzle.
Oh, hell yeah, man. My freaking got my sport coat and my my sweater underneath that says "Where's the mistletoe?" And of course, the old mistletoe is right over the
mistletoe.
Right sleeve. So yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure where you're going with that.
Yeah, I know. We were frightened for a minute, but
well, I mean, when your hand's in your pocket, you know where the mistletoe is. So,
and of course, Aaron bringing that Chicago weather with a warm video fireplace.
Yeah, saving up for the real one. So
I like the lights, man. I like the lights.
Thank you.
Well, Chris, Aaron, and I have been doing this. This is the
fourth year
of the Christmas movie watch-a-thon. I saw a video clip the other day in which Bruce Willis was somewhere and said that Die Hard was not a holiday movie. I think that's a Russian attempt at misinformation, cause confusion and consternation. So I don't believe it. I don't believe it, but we're back to talk about holiday movies that we think the Close Protection set might like to watch, especially when they have a little extra time on their hands. And this year we're bringing out the adventures of Mr. Parker and Mr. Longbow, none other than Way of the Gun.
Clearly not a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
No. In fact, I'm not sure what holiday you could actually put with it.
No. I was watching you try to correlate that, and you're like, well, no.
I think it's just one you should watch on your holiday when you have some extra time.
Fair enough. It's just definitely just like a June month movie for sure. Nothing special.
Well, Aaron, I think you pulled up the synopsis. Tell us a little bit about what the movie is about and maybe who's in it.
Yeah, for sure. The Way of the Gun stars Ryan Felipe and Benicio del Toro. It was the feature debut, directorial debut of Christopher McQuarrie, who is mostly known for being the writer of Usual Suspects, which is why he's a frequent collaborator with Benicio del Toro. The movie takes place, actually, I'm not sure I'm assuming California before they try to travel down to Mexico, but it's about two criminal drifters with sympathy get more than they bargained for after kidnapping Juliette Lewis and holding for ransom the surrogate mother carrying a baby for a powerful, shady man. So essentially, these two drifters are kind of going through, they're selling their blood, they're selling their semen, trying to make an easy living. And then they decide they want to kidnap a pregnant woman who is a surrogate for a wealthy man. Kind of bit off more than they can chew. Tay Diggs and James Caan had a very different plan for them. And it kind of just, shit hits the fan and kind of leads them down to Mexico to a great old shootout.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like a Sam Peckinpah and a Quentin Tarantino movie kind of mixed together. And I would say something else about McQuarrie. He also did Top Gun Maverick.
Yes.
So, he's got quite a list of movies, and he was really involved in the Reacher movies, and I believe the Reacher TV show as well.
I gotta say something about that because the first Reacher movie was awesome. The second one
doesn't exist.
Sucked ass more than anything has sucked ass on the planet, and then the series was fantastic.
I pretend the second movie doesn't exist. I actually like this.
What is it? Never go back or never look back, whatever it is. Never see this movie. It's basically what it is.
So y'all know our number one fan, Jack Reacher, is one of her favorite books, and the fact that we brought it up will incite a phone call to me later when this airs. So, like us, she also agrees that second Reacher movie should not be in existence. But we kind of rewatched Way of the Gun, and I'd say, like, Santa Chris, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on your initial thoughts on Way of the Gun?
So initially, when I watched it the first time, I was like, "Oh, this movie sucks," right? But when I watched it again in preparation for this, I really liked it because it's a very complex plot, where you have the plot that Aaron kind of laid out, but you have these two drifters that are intent. They just want to live, like you said, the easy life, and this is their big score. And then they realize, like, they're that they don't want to go out that way. They want to make sure that they're looking after this person for whatever reason. There's no actual moment where there's just like, okay, hey, here's the deal, something happened, and we're gonna connect with this person and take care of them. It's just like it just kind of occurs, right? And then on the opposite side of things, we always assume as protectors that we're the good guys, and in this case, the protectors were fucking not good guys, and then they become worse guys. So it's just, that's the piece that appealed to me. And then, of course, it was the we can get into it a little bit later, but Benicio del Toro and Ryan Phillippe's characters, it was a buddy movie without them being buddies, right? Like you just knew they had this like deep history, and they had background and some level of some training, because when they move together. And it was funny because all of the movement was very, very slow, like from what we know today. But it was interesting. They must have had a pretty good technical advisor on that piece, so I really enjoyed it.
Let's pause here and watch a little bit of that first scene where they encounter the bodyguards, and they do that kind of cover and move thing.
Let's do it.
Okay, boys, we want this to go down nice and quiet. So put the guns down. Come on, guys, we got you dead to it. It's over. What?
The people, man, the people.
Can't you people see there are guns here? Get the fuck out! Get out! All right, guys, come on. This is no good. You put the guns down. I'm gonna count to 3, and then I'm gonna... What the fuck are you doing? You're supposed to be protecting her.
Oh, fuck. What'd I tell you?
Walk away. Just walk away. They don't care about dying, just losing. You're not gonna make it out of here alive. Somebody could call the cops by now. You know they're gonna come. Just walk away.
Move.
You sure?
Move, yes.
Relax. Let him relax. Move it. Better.
Okay.
Oh.
Moving.
Move. Moving.
No.
Moving.
Move.
Get her.
Move. Move.
Yeah, I love that clip, and I agree with you, Chris. And I need to go look it up. And apologies, I didn't. I love whoever their technical advisor was on it.
It was actually the brother of the director. He was a former Marine, I think it was. So he's in the military. It might not have been a Marine, but his brother was former military, and that he was the technical advisor for that.
You know, I read in doing some prep for this and kind of reading some of the snippets and trivia that they really went out of their way to say, look, these weapons fire only so many clips, and then you got to do a magazine change. There was one scene in which they do the endless shootout or they do the endless clip. And what I read was that they did that on purpose to kind of like, kind of put it in their tongue in cheek. But for the most part, they really wanted to get the technical aspects of the film. That's the one thing I love about the film myself is and it's the same reason I love Heat, is there's a technical aspect to what they're doing. Is it 100% accurate? It's much more accurate than most other things that I've seen out there. I particularly love that scene that we just watched too.
Yeah, I will say, just to clear it up,
again, that's the piece. Go ahead, Aaron.
Go ahead. I was just saying he was a Navy SEAL. I just feel like that's important to clarify. I don't want to upset anybody who's
oh damn.
Yeah.
Well, hey,
I don't want to die in the night,
protectiontalk@outlook.com. Let me know, and I'll give you Aaron's address in Chicago. You can go visit him.
There it is. So,
Chris, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say that I thought it was, regardless of what service it was, you could tell there was a lot, that went into the technical aspect of it, maybe not to the, dare I say it, John Wick level, but it's also important to note.
Did you say John Wick?
I did. Oh, there we go. Aaron, suck it down.
We're going to be hammered by the end of this.
But well, if as long as I refrain from saying John Wick, we will be. So, anyways, I think it's important to note that this was pre-GWAT, right? So it was out in 2000, and so for the tactics, techniques, and procedures at the time, I thought it was really good. I mean, again, the CQB is really slow. But
I think they did that though to help the filming and the cinematography, so people could see. At least that's what my take was on that.
Yeah, my sense was that's just what it was at the time, and so over time we've gotten a lot faster, a lot smoother, a lot because I was like, oh, you'd be dead, But having said that, I thought there's a lot of technical accuracy to it, and again, that piece was really what unstated shows you that these guys had been there, done things together, right? I mean, unless you just thought like, hey, I'm going to meet some random dude on the street, we're going to go clear a house together, and it's going to be awesome. They'd had some level of experience, and then as they were talking through it, they're like, hey, I've killed a lot of people, I've done a lot of things. So the whole drifter thing is a little bit of an understatement, right? They were some bad dudes, is really what you're trying to actually. And Aaron, I know you're a film connoisseur, so so to speak. I like the fact that we didn't get a ton of backstory on them. It leaves the mind open. Did they serve together? How did they get there? In the beginning, you see where they're driving the car. They're just kind of drifting, as you say, Chris. They're just drifting along, and they happen upon an opportunity to say, let's do it. But all we know about what's Del Toro's character, Mr. Longbow, is that he at one point was a bagman or a fixer. That's kind of the only backstory we get about him. I love that. What do you think about the movie, Aaron?
No, in terms of the backstory, I think there's definitely, times and places for movies or shows to take time to kind of develop a backstory for a character, but how you're kind of pitching it or describing it as like a neo-Western, I think that's definitely the vibe they were going for. And they're kind of like the guys on the horse that's just trying to drift into the city. So it's kind of, you don't really need a backstory for them. They are who they are. We get enough character development from that. In terms of the movie, I thought it was a little uneven for, the first, 2 minutes with Sarah Silverman kind of going 110% before the movie really slows down. I think a little uneven at the beginning for me there, but I do think overall I can see why it's a cult classic. This is the first and only time I've seen it so far. So definitely will want to go back and rewatch it and kind of pay attention to some more of the finer details, especially after we have this conversation and I can kind of go back and like listen to what you all say and kind of observe it from a more more informed viewer based off what you all are going to teach me tonight. But I do have one kind of question for you all whenever in terms of to get protection talk going. So a movie trope, whenever there's two security guards and they have
Did you just say security
Yeah,
guards?
that's the first one. You say guard, then he punch you right in the fucking throat.
Brian Leak is listening to this, so you need to say there's two minders.
They are secured. There are two minders, and they have the principal. Is that right?
There you
I've
go.
been out of the game for a second. Sorry.
All
I need
right.
to come back to the close protection.
Head or gut.
But whenever there's two protectors, in an elevator with the principal, they're always behind them in the elevator. Now, especially when they're pregnant and you think they might be in danger, would you not want to stand in front of them? That way there's nothing that can come up behind them? Or is that just a movie trope to kind of like put the subject in front? Or is that an actual thing?
I think there would be one in front and one to the rear, or depending on the level of threat, there would be two. I think in my mind it was just a movie trope because she was probably more interesting than they were. But I don't know, Chris, what's your 2 cents on that?
I think that's the movie piece. It would definitely be one person in front, one person in rear. It doesn't change.
That's what I assumed, but I just wanted to clarify. And not that anybody who's listening to this wants to know that question, because it's just me. But
well, I think the two dudes in back, it makes it more ominous, right? I mean, and there's just a lot of subliminal messaging in all of this, just like the way that those two dudes are, and you're like, hey, these two protectors are really, squared away. They're doing things by the book, blah blah blah. Then you realize they're just shitbags. But
when they're doing that bounding scene right before it happens and the protectors point their weapons down at her belly, I was like, I remember seeing this in the theater going, well, this is a different kind of movie.
Yeah, for sure. They're like, it's not about her. She's just the freaking host.
Something I read that was pretty cool. And it speaks about Benicio del Toro is he asked McQuarrie how much, $15 million, which I have no idea what the equivalent of that would be today, $1 million. But he asked McQuarrie how much would $15 million weigh, and McQuarrie basically said something like, who cares? So Del Toro went out and started asking, and apparently that would weigh roughly 375 pounds. So he wanted to figure out, like, what would that mean for us if we were trying to carry that? That's a lot of weight. 375 pounds is a lot of weight to carry, especially if you're going to be doing some tactical action as well. So I enjoy that kind of stuff.
There's only two of us, but I thought it was funny. They're like a couple 1,000 pounds, that's what they said in the movie, because the guy is just off the top of his head, so. Okay.
Now let's take a second here. I want to watch a clip on James Caan's character, Sarno, and come back. Let's take a second and watch this clip about the Bagman.
I'm gonna make it, kid. One's backfire. 3 is gunplay. Step out. Put it down. Cop will come by, blow your head off. Hands to your chest. Boy. Well, son, right now I'm the butler. I'm the guy you wake up to one night. Maybe a year from now. Maybe 2.
Okay, so there's the clip of James Caan, and he's the bagman or the fixer. What'd you guys think of James Caan's character?
Well, I mean, first I thought it was awesome, but I think I want to talk about Mercer first.
Oh yeah, I love that guy.
So I mean, here's a guy.
Should I answer the phone or not?
Here's a guy who's trying to figure out like how he's like playing Russian roulette, like 3-dimensional, because he puts all of his guns in a freaking, puts one round in each gun, mixes them up, and then pulls one out at a time, and freaking just he's ready to freaking check out, And then I thought it was freaking funny how he was like getting ready to, he's like, and he looks over at his lamp and he goes like this, so he won't get any spray on his lamp. It's freaking.
But he keeps eyeing the phone as the phone's ringing too. Like, should I answer it? Should I not?
Yeah, it's a serious question. I mean, well, first off, it's definitely tongue in cheek, right? But I mean, again, you look at it from a perspective of, here's a guy who's done a lot of things and he just wants his way out, And the cool thing is that is that, again, you don't really know because you haven't connected the dots yet. But this is his redemption, you know.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, yeah, dude, I'm good. I'm gonna go out like this, and it'll be awesome.
Well,
you know?
and if you flash forward a little bit to the scene of him and James Caan's character in the car, and I liked when like they're talking and you see James Caan kind of look at his watch, and then he realizes like, oh, this, and then Mercer's like, Joe, I'm dying, and he's like, oh, and then they're talking. He's like, if you don't mind, I'd like to be alone.
Yeah,
sure,
awesome.
No problem. See you when I see you, kind of thing.
Yeah, one just got a place to be. The other guy's trying to die, but they don't want to be rude. Like one guy's like, "Hey, I'm here for you, buddy." The other guy's like, "Hey, that's great, but get the fuck out because I'm just trying to do this in peace." You know, I just did one great thing for my life. Let me out of here. You know, that part was really, really funny.
Yeah, I liked that character and that bit with the Russian roulette within the Russian roulette. I thought was great. But Joe Sarno, the fixer, I love his character. I love when he's got the two bodyguards they're in jail, and he says, no, I don't think, nor do I assume, speculate, or hypothesize. I merely observe, and what I observe is one frantic fuck up on what should have been a routine exec protect. And I was like, beautiful. I love his character. Yeah. And I kind of think maybe it's a stretch, but you know, we're all fans of Sicario. I kind of feel like Del Toro's character in that movie is a little bit like his character is in this movie. Kind of like, I've been there, done that. I know, I'm very matter of factly. And I also like the fact that Sarno basically says, he talks about being an old man. He's like, cause he's a survivor.
That was my favorite part. Was that
the bodyguard shit like, talking through the movie?
Yeah. So he's like getting ready to flex on him. He's like you old motherfucker, I will fuck. And I'm thinking like, in my mind, I'm like, this is an old dude in a young man's game, dude. And that was like by design. It wasn't another younger, dude. And he's like, one thing you can guarantee yourself, the old man's a survivor. I was like,
yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, you can. Freaking awesome.
I also love the scene where Longbao and Sarno, he's like, after they do the scene that we just showed, and he's like, you want to go have a cup of coffee? And they kind of go into that little cantina bar thing, and they sit down, they have a cup of coffee, and they're like bullshitting. And Longbow says something like, they're like comparing like the good guys and the bad guys. Like they say words like surveillance and backup. Yeah. And then he's like, and then you got all the gun monkeys over here kind of thing. I thought that was awesome.
Part was freaking awesome. Yeah.
This movie, I mean, has a lot of, I think, really cool, maybe back to something Aaron said earlier. I mean, it's got a lot of little cool moments I think they could have delivered on, if I'm being hypercritical, but all those little moments to me are well worth it.
Yeah, but you know, the thing to me is that if you're in the industry, you get it immediately, right?
Yeah.
If you're not, you think it's super cool. And I think that's by design. I think whoever said, let's salt this dialogue in there, I think they did it purposefully, right?
Yeah,
so that you could do, and whether it was overt or not, it was definitely purposeful. You know, so you get the freaking posers, you get the guys that have been there, done that, and you get the posers, which is exactly what was, supposed to be portrayed in the movie theater,
Now, Aaron, I know I read this. I don't know if you saw this in what you were looking around, but apparently they reference. So doesn't Philippi play Bob Lee Swagger in the shooter series? They reference this movie in one of the episodes. And I've not seen the episode, or I can't remember the episode. I'm gonna have to go back and watch, but they kind of like, because of Ryan, they kind of reference the movie in the show, which I think is kind of cool.
That is cool. I have not watched the series Shooter, but I do know he's the star. So that's a pretty cool Easter egg. But I have not familiarized myself with the show.
It's funny if you think about the plot. It's kind of a complex plot. Everything going on. You've got the guy that's laundering money, and then you've got the daughter and baby and the wife's in with the bodyguard. Another mistake that
there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on there.
And here we've been spending the last 25 minutes or so talking about all the tactical stuff of the show, which is, I mean, it's like
one of those shows where, I thought the grossest piece of the whole movie was homegirl waxed down the shrimp And then Ty Diggs comes over and freaking tongue kisses her. Also, oh, that's freaking disgusting.
Yeah,
That was gross.
I don't care how hot you are. You better get a freaking breath mint in that gullet of yours. Freaking nasty. That was awesome. And John Wick.
I need to get that taste out of my mouth.
Yeah.
All right. What was your favorite scene, if you have one?
Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, I think the final shootout was probably the easy answer to go with. Definitely, it was a pretty cool shootout. I definitely have some questions. The sniper shootout also in the original shootout in the hotel scene when Ryan Felipe, like you were just mentioning, was sniping. That was also a fun scene. None of the scenes with Juliette Lewis screaming were fun for me. I also I would have rather been the guy getting torture racked by the barbed wire than have to continue watching that. But yeah, no, I definitely like the shootout scenes. They were just obviously the most exciting scenes. And then the opening scene with Sarah Silverman, I thought was going to set the tone for the movie in terms of like the dialogue and the pacing was kind of fun. She was over the top, but I thought it was a fun opening scene to kind of set the tone for Parker and Longball.
Well, when she's spouting off and then her boyfriend, I mean, and that is just one long-winded diatribe of inappropriate verbiage.
Yeah. It was definitely 2000 for sure.
But again, then the boyfriend.
I thought the cool thing about the whole thing was that, you think it's going to be on between all the dudes, and no, freaking Philippi just punches her right in the fucking face, and it was awesome.
That was amazing. And then he kisses that one girl.
Yeah, and you knew those dudes. You're like, what is happening? Like, because you just knew they were going to take a beat down, and it was like, whatever,
Yeah.
And the dude kisses her, then he stomps on her toes, and just it's on, and they didn't really do anything. It's like, we're bored.
But it's like you said in the very beginning. I mean, what did that scene have to do with anything other than character setup? I mean, it just makes it leaves you with more questions than not, other than the fact that like watching her get punched in the face was hilarious.
Yeah, I think it was just like, hey, these guys do not give a fuck. Right. I think that's really what they're just trying to establish, like right off the bat. It was pretty freaking funny, because you go from that scene where they freaking punch her in the face and do all this stuff, and they get the shit beat out of them, and then they're just like cruising down the street, smoking cigarettes, having a freaking drink, like nothing happened. They didn't talk about it, they didn't say nothing. They didn't refer to it. Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny.
I do have one more follow-up scene that was actually really cool. Was the car chase scene where they were hopping out of the car and like letting it go slow roll down the alleyway and then doing the shootout. That was pretty sweet. I hadn't seen anything like that before, so that was cool.
I think I liked that scene, and I like that getaway scene. It reminds me of Sicario, and I don't want to give too much about Sicario in case it ever makes the cut on this, but I do love the scene. It will in Sicario where they're at the border. And the guy from Burn Notice, they're all laughing, and all of a sudden he just like it's on, and you see that like click, and you see Val Kilmer nails that as well in Heat, where they're all chuckleheads, and all of a sudden like boom, game on, here we go. Yeah. And I always appreciate that switch over to okay, here we go, as opposed to those people like, I'm switched on all the time because I'm John Wick.
Yeah, well. Yeah, before I drink, I was like, Val Kilmer was not in Sicario, dude. Freaking I don't know what you're drinking, Chuck.
I said Heat. I love Heat. I think it's a great movie. Good. I love the technical stuff about this. I did find that piece I was talking about earlier. Apparently, every round. Okay, I'm going to quote this from the trivia piece I've got. Every round fired is accounted for, and all characters reload when appropriate, with the exception of one sequence in the brothel courtyard where Parker and Longbow fired dozens of rounds in rapid succession without pausing to reload, which is an intentional sort of fun tribute to classic action movies, which would be great.
I thought that piece was interesting.
Yeah.
Chris,
because I think they added some other things to it too, because you had all those old bagmen coming in, right?
Yeah, that was awesome.
And they have like 1.6 gun. And I thought there were some pretty cool pieces. There was one piece where Benicio del Toro's character is freaking lighting it up with this gun. And it seemed like with this long gun, it seemed like it was a little bit, extended from the magazine capacity.
Yeah.
And it was also interesting, like these guys are so prepared that they, he only brings 2 mags for the freaking long gun and like 43 for the freaking 45s, right? But again,
That's one of my questions.
I thought he gave a lot of nods to like just how they carried inside the waistband holsters. Clearly, this is somebody that had been the technical advisor had been, somebody that carried concealed, did it a lot, had a preference for the 45. Although, it could have been, some of those things could have been solved if they used a double stack. I know we're talking super tactical, but we are discerning when we look at those things,
no, I mean, look, what person in our
sense,
industry do you know that doesn't go to the movie and that's what you watch? I mean, other people like, wasn't that funny? I'm like, that's bullshit. Nobody do that.
Yeah.
But then there's stuff like where I'm laughing and other people like, what are you laughing at? I'm like, that was hilarious.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was interesting too, is that like some of the older guys in the thing, they would be, the old freaking hip shooting kind of thing, Colonel Cooper freaking, and again, it was all age appropriate, for whatever they were doing. And then you could totally, at least it set the tone that this wasn't the first gunfight that all these guys had been in, right? They were, they were calm, cool, and collected under fire. They were doing their thing and they were executing appropriately. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, do you remember James Caan's character before he calls Mercer, he's got a list and there's a bunch of names crossed out. And I wondered when I rewatch it, like, were all those names that he called to come to this, or were those guys all like dead or deceased?
Well, all dead.
Mercer was the first guy he could get to.
Cool.
I've got a clip that I pulled out. It's not the full gun sight, but it's the beginning between the two characters before they go to that final gunfight. Let's play this.
There's always free cheese in a mousetrap. What do you think? I think a plan is just a list of things that don't happen. If we die, we die alone.
I mean, there's always cheese in a mousetrap, and if we die, we're going to die alone. And I mean, and that starts the finale of the movie, where you have what I think is an incredible gunfight between all, like Chris, like you said, all the old men, all the old survivors, and the two young bucks who really don't have anything at this point to lose.
Yeah. So I thought that this was an interesting foundation of the characters, right? Because, in all of the plotting and inner plotting and everybody, moving back and forth against each other. And there was only that one tiny little hiccup where Del Toro was going to go into the hotel and he needed to get his jacket and it was on the other side. And again, you could excuse that to go, hey, maybe he thought it was inside and it was actually hung up or whatever the case is. But the thing that I really loved about that scene was that they were like, hey, ride or die, brother. And if one of us dies getting this, I want you to, like, don't sacrifice yourself for me. At least one of us gets it. Right. And he's just, I think Del Toro's character was so understated because he was just always like the backup, right? Like he was he was kind of like the wizened guy that's going to kind of go along with the ride. But he's like, hey, we got to understand what we're getting into here. It's a mousetrap. We know it's a mousetrap. So how do you want to do it? And freaking Ryan's all like, freaking, hey, full send. He's like, all right, brother,
let's do it.
Yeah,
and I love. There's
whoever comes out on top comes out on top. If
there's a bit of finality in the whole thing where he's right. You're like you said, ride or die. Like you look at it, and you're like, you know what? Fuck it. We're on the pathway now. Let's do it. And then it goes all the way back to what he says in the beginning about being on the pathway and and just taking care of yourselves. And here we go, which I think says something to writing and continuity of the movie. But I love that scene, and it's like, here we go. If we die, we die alone.
Right. Yeah. And if we could find, partners or colleagues or whatever like that, or like, hey, bro, if that's what you need, or if that's what we think we can get, I'm happy to die getting it for you, and vice versa. And like, all right, cool. Like, and that you just don't find that very often, you know?
Yeah. And I think there's something to that again. And it goes back to, I think the advising in the movie. Well,
Sorry if I started
where
a
you
big
have,
train.
where you have a good thing when nobody's driving, where you have that moment where you look at somebody, you know, and you're like, this is it, here we go. You know, all emotion off, it's on. And they definitely get it on with the bad guys. I'm gonna rewind a bit. If you rewind your cassette on this a moment, that bit where he and Felipe are talking and they have kind of like second thoughts, and it's right before at the hotel. I like, because you're right. Del Toro is kind of like the older the older, more experienced person of the two. And I think the whole thing, Chris, he's kind of there. He's like Virgil through the 9 layers of hell. And at some point he's like, it's on, let's go. And they got nothing to lose, and they go get after it. And boy, do they get after it. I would say, if you haven't seen this movie, I mean, would it be one that you would recommend to a buddy to watch on a holiday?
I don't know about a holiday, but just if you're just hanging out, you know, like, look, I clearly the new movie that's come out, Violent Night, is a Christmas movie, right? And we didn't review that just because, like, you know, we'd have to have everybody, you know, see it. But, you know, I mean, like, there's a guy in a Santa suit, so clearly it's a holiday movie.
Well, it's the guy from Stranger Things.
But it's a good, yeah, but it is a good, I think it is a good movie, and it's good to see like where we came from, where we were, and the dynamics, right? I mean, I think one of those things that's really interesting is that, you know, the all the complex like plot twists and who's connected to who and who isn't. You know, the protectors are making they've made sandwiches and made lunch, and they're sitting in the kitchen of the residence, right? Or they roll up and interrupt the principal. I'm not the principal. They interrupt the client to say, hey, it's time for your doctor's appointment. You know, like, you could tell there's a very, very trusted relationship there as well, right? Where the bagman's like, I told Mr. So-and-so to freaking fire you and then let me make you disappear. And he didn't, you know? So again, very complex, very cool. I thought it was a pretty cool story.
I like when they ask Sarno, and they're in the tank, and they're like, are you an attorney? And he basically was like, do I fucking look like a fucking attorney? Dude, I mean, James Caan, I love him as an actor, and I love him as that type of character. I think he just wins in that anytime he does it. And by the way, Sarah Silverman, if you look in the credits, she is credited as being the quote raving bitch, end quote, for sure, which is totally appropriate.
You got to wonder if she ad-libbed all that, you know, probably. Just let your demons out and see what happens, you know?
Yeah.
I actually think she probably could do that for sure.
Yeah.
Aaron, what do you think? Critical response on this movie was mixed. I mean, you know, what do you think? Rewatchable?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would like to rewatch it more, kind of after I said, like, talking with you all more.
Will you?
Probably not. No, I
got too much shit to do.
Yeah, I got too much going on. No, I wouldn't mind turning it back on at some point, because I am a fan of Benicio, and I would be down for a Sicario conversation if that ever takes place.
Who wouldn't be?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely had my like bones to pick in terms of like the unevenness in terms of like the pacing and like the opening, the first 15 minutes versus the final hour and 45. But I mean, if people don't have the full 2 hours or they think they want to go and watch it, I think you can at least look up some of the clips that we've discussed today, that are the ones that you're showing here, spliced in and out. I think will kind of give more of a representation of like the tactical side of this the film, and I think that could be beneficial for anybody to kind of see what Chris is saying, like where you all were before and where you all are at now.
You know, that's interesting. That's very interesting. I mean, Chris, as a protector and a tactical person yourself, if you were going to watch 3 scenes from this movie, or 4, what would they be?
So the first piece, I guess the first one would be where Tay Diggs and the other dude are freaking like, you know, on comms as they're driving in, and there's a second car, and you can tell that like this has been thought out. It's just not like, hey, it's gonna be cool. It's like a real thing, you know. And then I think the second piece would be any of this, the Ryan Phillippe or and Del Toro tactical scenes where they're moving. Like I would argue that most people, even though it's antiquated tactics, most people couldn't move that well with, you know, the person that they work with. And I would just say, yeah, watch that because it's very, very fluid. And then you could be able to see like, hey, this one needs to be faster. This one needs this and then the other thing. And then the last piece is that, you know, I'll give you 3. Again, it's like the scene at the hotel where they're kind of burning it down, 3.5, where they're burning it down, and but they're very calm, cool, and collected. They understand what needs to be executed. They're not like freaking out, you know, it's not a freaking crazy thing. They're just like, hey, I got your back, you got mine. They get separated, but they're still covering each other, you know, because it's getting a little sporty. And then the last piece that I kind of focused on, and it probably is kind of lends itself to what Aaron was talking about, but really is, I think the romantic in me was wanting James Caan to have him leave them a bag of money, because he very purposefully shot them in the legs as a sign of respect, not like he could have killed them, right? But he had respect for them, and you almost think like, hey, when these guys recover, they'll be the new generation of this. You know, I wanted him to leave them just one bag of money, because it was all about scamming homeboy for whatever his money was worth. Like literally everybody wanted the money, and at the end, the guys just wanted the girl to go free, so they got what they wanted, right? But I kind of wanted that, but you just understood that was the nod that he gave him, was, you know, by shooting him in the legs and calling it a day.
Yeah, I did too. I was hoping, like, we want our heroes or anti-heroes to at least get something. And I guess in some way they got their life. And I love the fact that Caan shoots him with a revolver. I'm just going to put that out there, although I'm more of an automatic person myself. I mean, I can appreciate a good revolver. I appreciate that calmness that all the professionals had in this. Like, look, we don't need to have all these whacked out codes for everything. We're just speaking plainly what we're doing. Move, here we go, cover, boom, boom. You know, their hand and arm signals are very clear as well. I mean, I'm thinking about the scene at the hotel when they look in and she's got the shotgun, and Del Toro kind of looks and he's like, so, yeah, okay, we know what's going on. I like that. I also really enjoyed the scene where Sarno and Longbow sit down, that coffee scene, like I said earlier. I enjoy that just because that fact, like, we're going to sit down and have a conversation. We're going to take a pause in the action. I'm on one side here because nobody's good or bad in this. They're just varying shades of gray. We're going to sit down. We're going to have a conversation. I love it when he's out there and they're at the phone booth. He's like, put the gun away. A Mexican cop's going to come by and shoot you. And he's like, they're very matter of fact and calm. Like, look, we can solve this, or we cannot. But as you say, Del Toro's already bought into Felipe's, you know, strategy, and said, well, we're on the path. So I like that scene in the bar where they're having coffee.
I liked it too, because it was very stark where Del Toro's like, he's got his weapon covered, you know, and he's like, all right, I need to secure myself. I don't trust you, blah, blah, blah. Then the very next scene, they're freaking bullshitting, right? And you see both of his hands, and he's accepted that this is just, you know, a conversation. And I think
they were both bagmen,
purposeful. Yeah. So
like, cool. There's that like honor among thieves thing almost that I thought was kind of cool.
This is a neutral zone, or as others would call it, a safe space for us to communicate. I thought it was cool. I thought it was really, really cool.
Yeah, no, I enjoy the movie. I think I watched it again yesterday, and that's probably maybe the 4th time I've seen it. I still find it rewatchable. That's just me. But I would say I agree with Aaron. You could rewatch. I like some of the stuff that I'm like, oh my gosh, she's pregnant, and here's the twist. I more watch it because I do enjoy the characters. I think they did a very good job of developing those characters. And while they're not protectors, I think most protectors could watch that film and kind of like, I feel you guys, and I know where you are.
Yeah. And I was just thinking that Tay Diggs' character was very, very ruthless as a protector. Yeah. Right? Because the ones that
was a dick,
that had
man.
The most emotions were the quote unquote bad guys at the start, and then you realize the true bad guys were the protectors.
And he's also sleeping with the boss's wife.
Yeah,
so whatever.
Well, that was true to life in a lot of situations.
Yeah, it was.
You know, not helpful, but true to life.
It was, but he the scene where, well, I don't want to give any spoilers away, but the scene with him and Del Toro, and they're just watching each other as things happen. I kind of thought I liked that scene as well. There's a lot of little small things I like about this movie.
Well, the part where they do the vehicle piece, right? And they do that vehicle interdiction. I won't give away how they do it, but when Ryan runs up and he's like pointing his weapon at those two dudes and they have him dead to rights, and he's just like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
It would have been interesting if they'd have done a different, like an alternate ending where he just freaking pops both of those dudes and they roll credits. Because none of that shit would have happened, like it would have.
That would have been interesting. We should get some animation like how it should have ended. So.
I was gonna say that's exactly how it should have ended.
Something else I liked about the movie, I enjoyed the soundtrack. And that's something I know a lot of people often don't think but the guy, I think his name was Joe Kramer. That soundtrack for me, it had a very Western vibe.
Yeah,
it made me think a little bit of a spaghetti Western, which and often, it's not maybe remarkable, but I enjoyed the soundtrack, and I thought it really kind of highlighted some of the parts of the film. And composers often don't get a lot of credit, so I like Joe Kramer's work on that. I thought it was pretty badass.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty. I don't know about the soundtrack itself, but because I didn't really pay attention per se, but I did like the stops and starts of the music to enhance the scenes. I thought that was really great.
Gentlemen, we're shy of the big fat man in the red jacket coming down the chimneys. What are you guys hoping for Christmas? Or the holidays, or whatever you're celebrating.
Whatever. Nobody celebrates the holidays. Nobody celebrates Christmas. I don't care who you are, because you can stack the holidays on top of each other, right?
So what's your wish for Christmas, my friend?
World peace.
World peace.
I get 2 weeks off work, so that's about as good as the gift that I could be given right now. So
whoa, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
dude. Are you heading down? Are you gonna head south?
Yeah, I'm heading south. Yep, heading home, visit some family and friends. It's gonna be a good little staycation at home.
You're gonna take the number one bodyguard dog with you?
Yeah, I'm taking the guy on my 6 right now. He'll be doing the check with me.
Roger that. He's a good side. He's a good front right guy to have. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Nice. What about you? What are you guys hoping for Christmas? Anything special? Chris, I know you want one of those stress things that you can squeeze.
I have multiple of those stress balls I can squeeze. Yeah, I think just a peaceful holiday would be awesome.
Yes, I think there's something. The more of a Joe Sarno that you become, I think the more you appreciate just a quiet holiday where you can maybe catch up on your reading and maybe clean some weapons and just have some fun with the family. That's for sure.
Yeah, maybe you don't have to do the whole roulette bag. But yeah, I think
don't do that, dude. If that's what's going to happen, please call me. You'll be like, this is Chuck Randolph's voicemail.
You're exactly. Damn it. That'd be awesome. Hey, bro, getting ready to go full send.
No.
A bag full of automatics. Here we go.
Yeah, and if you're going to go full send, please call somebody and talk to them. So
yeah.
Awesome. Well, this has been Conversations in Close Protection, our annual holiday movie viewing special. Can we call it that now?
No, because last year you pussed out and you went audio only. So
we were video last year. I think
I showed up in this thing, and you're like, no, dude, we're only doing audio.
I think that's because I didn't have time to edit, or Peck didn't have time to edit, but
yeah,
we're full. And folks, if you're listening to the audio, and I know you're in your car or getting your swole on or whatever you're doing, look, go to YouTube and just watch this one. Can you guys agree? Come on, we don't get dressed up for just anybody, but hey, gang, here's a side interesting bit about Conversation Close Protection. We're just shy of 90,000 downloads.
Whoa,
that's cool.
Yeah. So 5 years. Yeah, 5 years of doing this, and quite a following. So I feel grateful and happy going into the holidays that we have that. What about you, Aaron? What are you wanting? Don't give me some bullshit like world peace or just some quiet.
No,
give me something.
That's not bullshit.
No, I want the cheese in the mousetrap. I want to go ahead and shoot out for $50 million cash. And if I win, I win. If I die alone. That's all I want. I want the opportunity.
Hey,
video.
Aaron is 375 pounds. Chris and I will be there.
Yeah,
you can do it.
I'll drag it.
we'll be there, and we'll just make it happen and light it up like it's Nakatomi reunion. See what I did there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. Brought it all back.
So what do we think for next year? Is it Heat? Because we haven't done that yet.
Man, Heat. Well,
and,
that'd be a good.
Sicario. Well, here's the thing: Sicario 3 is supposed to come
Sicario.
out next year too, so we could do a Sicario one.
You know what we need to do is we all need to be together and go see Sicario 3. That would be awesome. Yeah.
What does it have to do with the Christmas episode?
Nothing. I'm just trying to think of ways we can go see movies.
Awkward.
And that's a tough one. I mean, we have Violent Night. I mean, I kind of feel like we might be forced into a corner on that one.
Well, why don't you put it to the viewers? Give them choices and let them decide. Yeah,
or it's like you're in marketing or something.
Yeah.
Get some engagement.
I mean, we guess,
absolutely.
What do we have? Sicario, Heat, Violent Night. There's a bunch of options,
one of those is a holiday movie.
Well, and that is the theme. Maybe we need to come up with like a July movie review also.
Santa Claus versus the Martians.
Right. Where it's just protectors, right? Or we do like the Hitman's Bodyguard or Bodyguard for Life or whatever.
You know what we should do? You know what? We should do this like July 4th. We should do like the non-Christmas viewing holiday movie. Or Day of American Insurrection viewing.
I'm a AAA rated Bodyguard.
Oh my God. That would be for sure. That would be the first one that we would watch.
There it is.
Awesome. Well, gang, this has been great. And of course, we wish happy holidays, Merry Christmas to you and everyone. We hope everyone gets some downtime. Of course, this is Conversations in Close Protection. My name is Santa Chuck, and across a digital divide have been the vagabonds of the vernacular, Mr. A.A. Ron Peck and the Santa Kringle Story. With that, wash your hands, watch your six, and keep your heads down.
Good time. And Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah and Happy Kwanzaa. Feliz Navidad, Happy Eid, all the things.
Aaron just said good times.
Good times.
You've been listening to an episode of Conversations in Close Protection. Email us at protectiontalk@outlook.com and find us on your preferred podcast platform. Please take a moment and consider rating us to help others find Conversations in Close Protection too. Look for us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and other social media spots. Conversations in Close Protection is brought to you by your hosts Chuck Randolph and Chris Story. Our engineering editor is the mighty Aaron Peck. Please remember that all opinions expressed do not represent those of any organizations or companies the hosts are affiliated with. This is Rachel saying watch your six and keep your heads down.